What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast.
Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. So last night I talked a bit about Bally's thoughtfulness towards the technician. Today I want to explain how I put some of that to use in changing the control unit motor on my new gate time. So I mentioned yesterday that when I picked the game up, I had been informed by Vic that the control unit was not turning. As I mentioned yesterday, I had pre-purchased a new motor to put in the game, so I was all ready to get that done. So, in order to do this, Bally made it actually pretty simple. The motor connects to the main shaft of the control unit with a single roll pin. Now, the construction of the control unit is such that you can actually remove the entire set of switches and fold them back so that you have full access to all the cams, all the clutches, the shaft, everything. Now, once I did this, there was a bit of grease on the bottom plate, which is not at all unusual for a bingo. This one was in really good shape. Seen some which are just completely covered in crud, but expect to get dirty if you're messing around with the control unit. So, in order to remove the motor, you have to loosen a couple of screws which hold the motor mount in place. But before you do that, you have to punch out the roll pin. Now, the reason that you should punch it out first is so that the shaft doesn't jump around and possibly damage your search wipers. So, the shaft runs the entire length of the control unit, as you might have wagered, and it goes all the way from the search disk through all of the cams and up to the motor. All of that is held in by a single roll pin. In order to punch it out, you need a pin punch, which is a specific tool, along with a hammer. You have to rotate the mechanism on the shaft for the two metal plates that attach closest to the motor itself until the pin is exposed. You take your pin punch and you make sure that it is lined up exactly in the center of this pin. It needs to be exactly the diameter of the pin. If you have a punch which is smaller, it's going to flange out and fold the pin up, which means that you won't be able to punch it out from that side anymore. So you need to be careful and choose the appropriate punch. If you don't have the right punch, then stop and go to the store, get the appropriate one. Pin punches are cheap tools. So, once you've got the right punch and you've got a hammer, then you start thwacking away. And it'll take a couple of really good thwacks to start moving the pin. Most of these pins have been installed for 40, 50, 60 years. So there's some age that's kept them there. So they need a little encouraging. And the hammer will provide that. So once you've got the pin out, and it should land on the bottom of the game if you don't have something there to catch it. The bottom of the control unit tray that the control unit basically sits on. So you don't have to worry about losing it in the game. So let me go back here. The pin will actually fall out just right onto a little shelf that's directly below the control unit. So it won't go far. But once this is done, then you can loosen the motor mount that holds the control unit in place, 2 screws, then you can slide the whole thing out and take it out of the game. Now, there are 2 or 3 wires which provide power to the motor, and those have to be desoldered or cut. If you do cut them, then you want to make sure that you leave enough wire so that you can reattach it. That's it. Installing a new motor, rather, you have to install the pin through the shaft and through the metal coupling plate. And again, you use a pin punch and a hammer. That's all there is to it. And then you screw the motor mount down, oil your motor, and then turn it on. And you have to solder the wires back onto it to provide it power. But hopefully you've done it correctly. The motor spins, and all is well with the world. But if not, now you know it's relatively easy to take that apart. Once you take the motor off, you can actually access all the cams on the shaft. And doing this will allow you to change the clutches, should you desire, change out a broken cam, or any other maintenance task you can think of that involves the shaft, cleaning it. So it's pretty easy. If you were to change a cam, you have to make sure the alignment so that when it rotates it is actually bumping the switches at the appropriate time. But other than that, it is pretty straightforward. So, thank you again for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, via RSS, on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at nbaldridge, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.